Why is your life the way it is right now? Why do some people effortlessly manifest wealth and fulfillment, while others remain trapped in cycles of struggle despite relentless efforts? The answer lies in something David Hawkins uncovered through decades of research. Your level of consciousness creates your reality. This isn't a metaphor. It's the fundamental mechanism determining every aspect of your existence. Most people never recognize the single most powerful force shaping their experience, their own consciousness. They blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck. But these are merely reflections of a deeper truth. The energy field of consciousness you inhabit determines what you perceive, what you attract, and what you can create. Your consciousness isn't just what you think. It's the vibrational frequency at which your entire being operates. Right now, you exist at a specific level on the consciousness scale, somewhere between shame at 20 and enlightenment at 700. The level at which you vibrate determines everything: what opportunities you recognize, what relationships you attract, and what reality you experience. When you operate from fear at 100, the universe appears threatening. From anger at 150, you experience constant battles. From pride at 175, you're perpetually concerned with status. But at the critical threshold of 200, courage, something remarkable happens. You shift from taking energy to giving energy. Above this level, synchronicities increase, resistance decreases, and the universe begins working with you rather than against you. Are you constantly struggling against resistance? Do relationships repeatedly dissolve into the same patterns? Does financial stability feel like an endless uphill battle? These aren't random occurrences, but precise reflections of your consciousness level. The most exhausting way to live is to remain at a lower consciousness level while trying to force outcomes that can only manifest from higher levels. It's like trying to receive FM signals with an AM receiver. No amount of effort can bridge that fundamental mismatch. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs aren't abstract concepts. They're energy patterns that attract corresponding physical manifestations. At 200, courage, you begin taking responsibility instead of blaming. At 250, neutrality, you stop being invested in particular outcomes and trust life's process. At 310, willingness, you harness intention rather than force. At 350, acceptance, you transcend dualistic thinking. At 400, reason, your intellect serves higher wisdom. At 500, love, you enter unconditional states where miracles become commonplace. The most profound understanding Hawkins offers is this: you don't need to improve or fix yourself. You need to elevate your field of consciousness. When you operate from higher energy fields, problems that once consumed you become transparent. Solutions that were invisible at lower levels become obvious. This is the difference between force, requiring continuous effort against resistance, and power, accomplishing more with less energy through alignment with fundamental truths. Imagine your consciousness as water. Below 200, it's frozen, rigid, and static. Between 200 and 500, it's liquid, flowing, and adaptable. Beyond 500, it becomes vapor, expansive and boundless. Most people spend their lives rearranging ice cubes when the true game changer is increasing the temperature to create phase transitions. 1 degree can transform solid into liquid. Small shifts in consciousness can catalyze massive transformations in your experience. The most powerful question isn't "what do I want?" but "from what level of consciousness am I operating?" When entangled in a problem, the solution isn't to analyze it endlessly or force your way through it. The solution is to elevate your consciousness to a level where different perceptions become available. Problems cannot be solved from the same level of consciousness that created them. They must be transcended by moving to higher energy states where they no longer exist as problems. Look at the most successful, fulfilled people in any domain. What distinguishes them isn't primarily their actions, but the consciousness level from which those actions spring. They operate from integrity, 200, willingness, 310, reason, 400, or love, 500, rather than shame, 20, fear, 100, or pride, 175. Their power doesn't come from outworking others, but from working from elevated energy states where resistance diminishes and synchronicity accelerates. The greatest mistake in conventional success literature is suggesting that anyone can achieve anything with the right techniques and enough effort. This ignores the fundamental truth that certain achievements are only available from certain consciousness levels. You cannot manifest from fear what can only be created from love. You cannot access from pride what can only be perceived from humility. The prerequisite for authentic manifestation isn't better techniques, but higher consciousness. Imagine your consciousness as the projector in a movie theater. The film playing, your life, is not separate from the projector's settings. Change the projector, and the entire movie transforms. Most people try to change the scenes in the movie while ignoring the projector creating those scenes. By calibrating your internal projector to higher settings, the entire film of your life upgrades automatically. Most people have it backwards. They believe improved circumstances will elevate their internal state, but the universe operates in the opposite direction. When your internal energy field elevates, corresponding circumstances naturally align. This is why identical strategies produce wildly different results for different people. Two people can follow the same investment plan, yet experience completely different outcomes based on their consciousness level. The most practical application of Hawkins's teaching isn't learning manifestation techniques, but practicing consciousness calibration, deliberately choosing to operate from higher levels despite circumstances. This involves recognizing when you've dropped into lower states and intentionally pivoting to higher vibrations. It's developing the awareness to catch yourself in fear, anger, or desire and choose courage, acceptance, or peace instead. Consciousness isn't just a state of mind, it's a field of energy with measurable attributes. One key law is what Hawkins calls the logarithmic nature of the scale. Moving from 100 to 200 isn't a 100% increase, it's exponential growth in available power. This is why small shifts upward produce disproportionate results. Someone at 350, acceptance, isn't merely 75% more effective than someone at 200, courage. They're thousands of times more powerful because the scale is logarithmic, not linear. At lower consciousness levels, fear, greed, pride, money is viewed as scarce, requiring protection. Life becomes a zero-sum game where your gain means someone else's loss. But approach wealth from integrity, 200, reason, 400, or love, 500, and the entire dynamic shifts. Money becomes a flow rather than a fixed commodity, a tool for contribution rather than protection, an expression of value rather than validation of worth. The most powerful method for elevating consciousness is developing awareness of your current energy state and making conscious choices from that awareness. When you notice yourself in fear, choose courage. When you catch yourself in judgment, pivot to acceptance. When you recognize pride, shift to humility. These real-time calibrations, practiced consistently, gradually rewire your default settings to higher baselines. Think of consciousness as the soil in which all your thoughts, emotions, and actions grow. Lower consciousness is depleted soil where even the best seeds struggle. Higher consciousness is fertile ground where ordinary seeds flourish. Most people focus on planting better seeds, positive thoughts, ambitious goals, while ignoring soil quality. Upgrading your soil, your consciousness level, is the fundamental game changer determining what can flourish in your life. The invitation before you isn't to add more to your life, but to elevate the consciousness from which you experience everything already present. This isn't about abandoning practical reality, but engaging it from energy states that transform struggle into flow, problems into opportunities, limitations into gateways. As you elevate from fear to courage, anger to acceptance, pride to humility, and desire to peace, you transform the very foundation from which all experience arises.